No Disney, Star Wars, canon fans of any kind. Not welcome here unless you're Mandalorian fans and Jon Favreau fans, then you're on my team. Because we're Team Favreau and Team Filoni. Okay, anyway. That out of the way, tip the Wookiee bartenders and all the rest of that stuff. Don't start fights here. Come fights, take this shit out in the alley. I know everybody's over at Midnight's Edge, but I'm not. I'm probably gonna be on here for a good 45 minutes talking. So anyway, gonna direct you over to Drunk 3PO. He did a video in which somebody had a story, and I think it came from worldofnerds.com, about Favreau wanting the Mandalorian all to himself. And all the shows that are connected to it. I put the word out to contacts, including Cameron, and Cameron came back and said, if this is true and Favreau's actually really asking for this, Kennedy is probably on the way out the door. She's losing. Hey, Vodem, how you doing? So, I like I said before, and I'll say it again, things are moving along. Hey, Pocket, we are behind the times. I wish we weren't, but it's one of those things where, you can't, good morning, Seaman. You can't really push things so fast. There are contracts, there are political machinations going on. The thing I hate is when you're talking to somebody and it's I'm gonna say this, and you know me, I love men, but boys, you have a problem with this because it's always you. Always. One of the guys will say, I don't think this is going on. Hey, Scary, and then, there's no civil war, blah, blah, blah. Because for some reason I think you need it written out for you in crayon. I'll come in there and say, no, you're wrong, A, B, and C. And then the guy will start arguing, not debating, arguing, because he's the guy and she can't be right. And I want to be a miserable asshole for the rest of my life, because that leads me to another point, which I'm going to make in a minute. And it's like, look, when you have more than one person, and this is for Junkman, okay, I'm calling you out, bitch, saying the same fucking thing from several different sources. It's not Doomcock saying it. It's Clownfish TV. It's my own contacts. It's Midnight's Edge. It's other people on Reddit and everything. They're all coming out with the same thing from different sources. You have to notice it. That's how people... Fuck! That's how the CIA collects intelligence, and that's how cops collect intelligence. Duh! Well, I heard from Mickey Greenbow and four of my other contacts from several different places that this is going down. It probably is going down. This is how it... See, man, I'm not worried, okay? This is my problem right here. You gotta stop worrying, okay? You really do. Whatever happens, happens. It is out of our... The only thing we can control is we're not spending money on it if it's shit, okay? And we want her fired. And I'm pretty sure after that investors meeting, it was heard loud and clear. And not just from mom and pop investors, like I said, and I guess I have to reiterate and repeat everything because no one remembers it. If you honestly think that George at the investors meeting was the only one who was thinking about why is Kennedy still there, you must really not understand how things work, okay? It's not as if guys like Larry Fink and Ron O'Hanley and Mortimer Buckley don't know about her. They do. And they don't have to say it in public. They can call Chapek. Anna, give me Chapek on the line. Yes, sir. Sir, it's Mr. Chapek. That's how it works. They don't have to say anything in public. And they move billions. Billions. Okay? So if mom and pop are asking what the hell she's still doing there, they've already asked it. Then you gotta look at the Forbes magazine. You guys want a full frontal assault, like D-Day. You're not gonna get it. So quit demanding that it be posted up in bright lights. It's not gonna happen. Plenty of us have said it's going to be happen under the table, quietly. There's going to be an announcement that she's resigning with her gold watch and her, $100 million severance package, because that's what it's going to be, to close out her contract. And they're going to send her off with fanfare. But we all know the truth. That's all we need to know. Just because it looks like she's getting a kiss on the cheek, she's not. She was supposed to go on until October. She's leaving now. Maybe she won't leave now. But I still say, with all this shit going down, and now the investors are involved, because what did I say? Come on, chat. Come on, chat. What did I say? If the small investors are involved, the big investors have already been involved. That's how it works. This is very Machiavellian. That Forbes article, very Machiavellian. All right? Very Machiavellian. And now we've got a story out there from one source, but I wanted to put this out there because it might just be true. Don't know. Got to vet it, got to check it. That Favreau wants control of what he's doing. And if he's doing that, that means Kennedy is, in trouble. There's only so much money people can take. Okay? That just is what it is. All right? So, what can we expect? You're not going to get your full frontal assault on Kathleen Kennedy. And if you do, it's going to be couched in, yeah, you're right, Pocket. You're right. It's going to be couched in stories about mismanagement at Lucasfilm, stories about dissatisfaction on the movie sets that she put together, stories about budgets not being worked on well, etc. All right? That's where it's going to come. And then you'll hear, you'll see they'll put a press release out too, and it'll be a press release for a press conference about Kathleen Kennedy or Lucasfilm. That's how it's going to happen. No, that's not what I'm talking about, Sakori. You want the invasion, you want the D-Day invasion. We already had the Hiroshima nuke, the Forbes article. All right, we already had a thermonuclear bomb dropped on her, okay? Everybody in Hollywood knows that article was about her. The fact that Gene Del Vecchio won't talk to anybody proves it. And no, it wasn't George that was behind it, it was Chapek. It's very interesting to me how people don't notice things. You gotta be when you're talking about stuff like this, because it is a delicate matter. We're talking about contracts. We're talking about optics, which is bullshit, I think. Optics are bullshit. You're talking about a lot of delicate issues. It's like brain surgery. You can't just yank it out. You can't just yank the tumor out. You gotta do several different things. And it's not just Kennedy that needs to go. If Iger had taken the bull by the horns and come up with a creative way for, Lucasfilm to be run without a leader until they could actually get a leader, Kennedy would have been gone 3 years ago. But he couldn't. He protected her. And that was his mistake. His mistake. You don't protect people like that. You get rid of them. She's bad for, what would Carlo Gambino say? She's bad for business. What would, Sonny Franzese say? She's bad for business. Okay? That's what they would say. And that's really the thing that matters, I think, is that. Not her being a woman, not the bullshit that, not the stories that she's got out there about how she's got things over other people's head. And to be frankly honest, and I haven't said this in public, but I've been thinking about this. Does Chapek really owe Bob Iger anything? Bob Iger set Chapek up for this. So Chapek is like, so does he really owe Iger anything? As far as I'm concerned, both Kennedy and Iger should leave on the same bus. And the reason is this. Kennedy was allowed to do, hey, Bone, anything she wanted. Anything. For far too fucking long. And Iger was the one who let her do it. He was afraid of her. They were friends. He tried to protect her bullshit. You can't, I'm going to say this. If I was running a company, I wouldn't be going out to dinner unless it was a company function with my department heads or a business dinner. I wouldn't be going to their houses just to have dinner or going out to eat or going to cocktail parties to hang with them like friends. And the reason is this. You need a distance between yourself and your underlings. Okay. Hey, the generals would have parties and we would have to go, but it wasn't like we would go to their houses every Friday night, even though at Yongsan, when we were in Korea, we were invited and we would always avoid it because Rudy didn't feel it was the right thing to do for us to be doing, and I think he was right. I don't know, but I think he was probably right. It's hard to discern that, but you just don't. So Iger being friends, supposedly, with Kennedy is a bad thing. It's bad for him, bad for her, bad for Lucasfilm, and bad for Disney. Because you can't separate himself then from the fact that she sucks. And instead he jumps in to protect her. You don't protect someone who's fucking things up. Do you think a general would protect a colonel who just got an entire battalion wiped out? Because the colonel wasn't competent? No. The guy would be relieved of duty. I've seen it happen. For incompetent, leaders doing stupid things or allowing stupid things to happen, and they get pulled. I've seen it happen, and it's ugly. Okay? So, this, we need to protect her, and, Kathleen, she's under a lot of stress, and, I know that some of her, her decisions were bad. It's like, oh, Jesus. This is the problem. This is how this shit started. Because she's friends with people. No, I don't want to be friends with you. I want you to do the job I told you to. I have plenty of friends. I don't need to go out to eat with you on Friday night. Okay? If there's a function like, okay, if you're, all right, Anna Wintour, who's the editor-in-chief of Vogue, and Michael Kors has a party, and you're invited, you should probably make an appearance. Everybody, you show up, genuflect, people genuflect to you, make the rounds, say hi, and leave. You're not there, passed out on the couch at 2 a.m. Okay, that's the shit that goes on, that can't go on if you're running a business. Okay, or anything. If you're the leader, it's almost better for you to have a close, for you to be close with your family, and it's almost, you know what I'm saying? It's almost better if you're close with your family and you have your peers as your friends. Like you have your golf buddies, who's the CEO of Universal and the CEO of Warner Brothers. You're all friendly rivals, okay? All right, and your right hand man, your vice president of whatever might be a confidant, and he might, your right hand man, your Smithers, okay, but you don't make friends or have friends or be friends with your department heads because they might fuck up. They might have to go. Guess what? Kennedy fucked up. She has to go. And she's had to go for a long time. The money that has been spent on her garbage, oh my God. The money spent on the High Republic is so bad. I can't even. I can't. I mean, if they had come to me with it, I'd have been like, no, we're not doing that. Kathleen, no, you can't spend the money on that. Hey, you know what? If you want to spend your own money and do your own project off the side, I don't care. But Disney is not backing this project. And the reason why is because I can see it's going to be a shitstorm. And guess what? It's a shitstorm. It's garbage. No one wants it. Okay. So, yeah, Iger is just as at fault as Kennedy. And, oh, yeah, it is a joke. And Chapek owes him nothing. Owes him absolutely nothing. Bob Iger knew this shit was going on. He saw Pablo Hidalgo attacking fans. He did nothing about it. Nothing. I mean, I'm just a second. I gotta get some from my nose. Look at my house, my pretty house. So yeah, Bob Iger knew this was all going on. Bob Iger knew and did nothing about it. So why, excuse me, why is it still happening? And why High Republic, last year they announced it? It was already in the hopper a year before that. The moment Soilo crashed and burned was the moment Iger should have said, no. No. And we all know that. And now and he didn't. And I can't, and you guys know that. So let's talk a little bit about something that Pablo and the Star Wars Story Group likes to do. Pablo Hidalgo is 47 years old. Claudia Gray's 50. Justina Ireland's 42. Yada, yada, yada. My favorite thing is still Saunders. You've got, Alex and Molly and all the rest of these weirdos running around telling us, well, you shouldn't care because Star Wars is for kids. The most miserable people on earth are the people who stopped loving what they loved as children. Okay? They're the ones that stopped collecting Star Wars stuff. They're the ones that stopped reading books like The Lord of the Rings. They're the ones that stopped wanting things. All right? When I was a little kid, I wanted a horse. I begged my dad every day he left for work, bring me a horse back. When I was little. I finally got one. Okay? She's wonderful, amazing. She's old, but she's a good girl. You know, I've got Star Wars collectibles. I started collecting them last year. You want to know why? Or 2 years ago. You want to know why? You know why? Because it made me happy. The people who don't explore their childhood and do the things that made them happy as kids, it doesn't mean you have to take out the Millennium Falcon, set it up in the front yard, and play Star Wars. But they're there. They're there. Okay? You read the comic books. You watch. Oh, see, man, I wish he was too, but he'll put up another video 5 minutes from now saying she's staying. I think he wakes up, smokes a bowl, and then pulls shit out of his ass to make videos. Honestly, every other video contradicts every other video he's ever made. I mean, Mazarius and I have laughed. Mazaris and I have laughed so hard at some of the stuff. I can't even. Now, do I agree with him? Yeah, I do agree she's leaving. Uh, Here's the thing about the IMDb thing, and Jason, look, I know Midnight's Edge is on right now, and they're talking about the Snyder Cut and Henry Cavill, he's cute. And I'm like, I could care less. Okay, I really just don't care. But Jason at Sci-Fi for me is going to be on at 1 to talk about IMDb. I think the IMDb thing blew up on him. Okay. I think they're trying to, I don't know what they're trying to do with it, but the idea that they're trying to prove somehow that Jeremy Griggs makes money on Geeks and Gamers. Yeah, he does. He has a company. I do believe it's incorporated. And yeah. And what I think they believe they're doing is somehow they're trying to prove that the YouTubers who make money on this stuff are grifting, and they're not. They're not. You know, when Pablo Hidalgo, when his Twitter account was public, would go out on a rampage and attack people. I'm sorry, but you just allowed the YouTubers who hate you to monetize your bullshit. Okay, that's not grifting. That's talking about what you said, which is news. You said that on the public forum. If you say it on Twitter, everybody in the world fucking heard it. Okay? You can't be that fucking stupid. I mean, but these people on Twitter, like Pablo and the rest of these cocksuckers, are so blooming stupid. And it's blowing up in their faces because they all know. I mean, Jason's going to I think announce he knows who put it out there, and it's somebody at Lucasfilm. Here's the deal: it's not like the two witches from Ripley could afford IMDb Pro accounts. Maybe they can, but somebody with an IMDb Pro account did it, set it up. So I suspect it's someone inside of Lucasfilm. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Pablo himself. Because after what happened, Luke showing up and everybody melting down in joy, and him realizing they just got they just got pantsed by a Jedi move by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. That's huge. And oh, by the way, for you guys who doubt Dave Filoni is one of us, he hasn't set foot at Lucasfilm in over 2 years. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. You don't like her any more than we do. All right. So, but I want to talk about what I was going to talk about. You know, it's really interesting though how these people can scream. It's about kids. Yell at us scream at us it's for kids, and yet they're involved. They're involved. They say they love it. They go to the cons. They do all this stuff. All right, but it's for kids, so we're not allowed. You know, I find it fascinating. And if it's for kids, then why are you making sex a big deal? You know, like Kirsch, like Irvin Kershner, when he was directing The Empire Strikes Back, and he was like, this is the first movie I had to imply sex. That's romance. That's romance. And I have a philosophy about that. If you want romance, the horizontal hula has to come last, not first. Okay? Not first. Part of romance is the chase. All right? As a woman, I loved being chased. And I could run with the best of them. And I ran from plenty of guys and broke plenty of their hearts too. One guy I kind of feel bad about, but whatever. So when you throw it out there as something, I mean, I'm gonna be blunt because I know a lot of people like this guy. Hugh Hefner killed romance. The pill killed romance. Yep, you're right, Sakori, and I'll tell you why. When you put naked female bodies up for guys, they forget about what that woman is. Okay, she's reduced to body parts, not to actually being a real woman. All right? And that should be the last thing. That is the goal, but it's not the only goal. All right? And it takes the woman's dignity away, but it also, sex doesn't empower a woman. How many prostitutes do we know out there? Do you think they're empowered? No, they're not empowered. They're miserable. They're miserable. I could tell you a story about that. I was going from San Diego to San Francisco to go back to Hawaii so I could fly to New York. Long story. Got on a plane, and I sat next to a girl, and she's a real pretty girl, really tiny, like Carrie Fisher small, very pretty. We start talking, and she goes, "All right, so what do you do?" And I go, "Oh, I'm a military wife. My husband's at a command conference at the division, and I've got to go home and get packed up and get ready. I'm going to New York for a movie premiere." And she was like, "Oh, what movie?" And I told her. And I go, "So what do you do?" And she said, "Well," and she looked around like she was real nervous, and she said, "I'm a dancer." And I knew what she meant, because if you'd seen her, you'd have gone like, "Yeah, I know who she is. I know what this is." They go, "Oh, that's cool, whatever. No judgment, no judgment. That's not what this is about." And we started talking, and she told me about her life, about her dad. She had the saddest life I've ever heard. All right? This girl had allowed herself, because of the abuse she had as a child, to be put into a very bad position as a young lady. I mean, she thought this is all she was. She made tons of money. She made more money than my husband did by a lot. But she wasn't happy. Okay. I know a lot of women out there have made buku bucks, posing for Playboy and Hustler and all that. You know, and you know, a lot of them have ended up really well, but really good. But was it really good for people? I have a really good friend who was a bunny. All right, you know, but when you go the extra mile, get into the magazines, get into the films and the clubs. What you're not. It's hard to explain, but it really ruins any romance that a girl can find, because guys don't look at her like that, because men are visual, women aren't. And What we do see, what we do like are nice eyes, nice hands, shoulders, a nice smile. I'm describing Harrison Ford or my husband. Um, you know what I'm saying? Uh, a guy that does things, not necessarily says it, but shows it, you know? And when you reduce yourself to body parts as a woman, a lot of guys will cease to view you as someone worthwhile. And that's true. Okay. For all the men that loved Marilyn Monroe, none of them, except for Joe DiMaggio, who beat the shit out of her, by the way, gave a shit enough to go out the extra mile and actually love her. Arthur Miller, I mean, she was basically a sex doll. The Kennedys abused her. You know, I go on and on and on. You know, supposedly she had an affair with Sonny Franzese. Yeah, Michael Franzese talked about it. It's true. You know, she wasn't happy. I mean, Joan Collins even said Marilyn was the saddest person she ever met. She was always looking for something that she wasn't going to get because of the way the men around her looked at her, except for Joe. But Joe was very Italian, and I'm not saying anything against Italian men, and got really pissed off when she was presenting herself in a way that a wife shouldn't present herself. You understand what I'm saying? It's just so, you know, I look at that, I look at the fact that there isn't any romance, there's no romance at all in the sequel trilogy. That's not romance at all. That's it's not even a real relationship. It's thrown in there kind of for the sake of a bunch of screaming teenage girls and women who are in their 50s, for Christ's sakes, who should know better. But for those of us who actually remember what romance is supposed to be like, you know, I grew up watching Casablanca, Gone with the Wind, Waterloo Bridge, Bringing Up Baby, if you remember that one with, I think, Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant. And I think Jimmy Stewart was in that. I can't remember. It's a Wonderful Life. You know, African Queen. All these movies. And then, of course, you get Star Wars, Han and Leia, and the prequel trilogy with the romance there between Padme and Anakin. And I don't need any more than that because I know. I mean, when you're a kid, you know what's going to happen. I mean, there's been plenty of fan speculation about the trip to Bespin. You know, plenty of fanfics about it too. Okay, but let's go on. So we're told that Star Wars is for kids. We're not allowed it by miserable people who forgot what Star Wars was about. And if they do care, they don't know it. They don't know what it's about. You know, so I say collect the figures, collect the models of the ships, get involved with release of the Lucas sequel trilogy, hashtag, and, you know, don't be miserable anymore. Thank you, Scori. Don't be miserable anymore. Okay, we all got shit that's got to go down. I've got, yeah, that's what he does. You know, I've got a test coming up in a week. A health test coming up. I'm not worried about it, but still, I mean, it's you know, we've all got stuff like that. 9-to-5 jobs, house to keep up, taxes to pay, shit like that. You know, it's never ending. So do the things you love to do. All right. We have a hobby. We go shooting every Sunday. When it gets a little warmer out, I'm probably gonna go trap shooting on Sunday mornings. Okay, just to keep up. You know, it's to do the things you love to do. Collect the music, collect the books, collect the movie posters, collect the DVD, collect the physical media. But don't listen to people that either make fun of you for your collection of Star Wars figures. Don't listen to them because they're unhappy. I know plenty of miserable people who, you know, when you got someone in your life that tells a niece, you shouldn't be reading those books because they're not teaching you how to deal with reality. And it's like, they read too much fantasy. It's like, you need to stop. All right. Miserable people want everybody else to be miserable around them. It's true. Anyway, talk a little bit about, okay, what else are I going to talk about? We already did, we talked about Iger. We talked about Kennedy. We talked about Jon Favreau and all the rest of the stuff. I mean, okay. What's wrong with Hollywood? Hollywood now is full of female characters that are miserable. They hate men. And men who don't care. Okay, I'm going to tell you when this started. I'm not a fan of Leonardo Dicaprio. I hate babyface guys. Hey, Cinna Dave, I can't stand babyface guys. Okay, I can't do it. They don't turn into good-looking men. Leonardo DiCaprio is not a good-looking guy. He looks like a rat to me. Okay, I'm sorry. Good actor, I know, but I just don't get. I can't. Not my type. Really, never was. It started then. And do you guys raise your hands? You guys remember Michael Ovitz? Anybody? Chat? All right. Michael Ovitz ran, I think, the Creative Artists Agency or something like that. And he was interviewed, and he made a very interesting statement about the gay mafia in Hollywood. And oh boy, did they come down on him like a ton of bricks. And we all know it's true. If you talk to anybody who's in the business, if Dan Watanabe's talking or here, he can jump in. Sensei, Kantaku Sensei, where are you? He really got his ass kicked. He ended up actually running Disney. Hey, John 42. Okay. He ended up running Disney and did a pretty good job before Eisner showed up. Ovitz was pointing out a problem. My dog's butthole, Sakori? Who's more handsome, DiCaprio or a driver? My dog's butthole. I just, no. I would say of all the new guys, Henry Cavill probably is the one that closest resembles an old school movie star. Okay, like old school male movie star. He's good looking enough to have been, yanked out of the crowd by, Warner Brothers back in the day or MGM. Louis Mayer had been like, yeah, that guy. Get him some lessons when he was a kid. But that's it. And the reason why is this. When I talk about authentic masculinity, I talk about an actor who's actually done something other than acting, while not being a waiter, actually did something that was actually worthwhile. Harrison Ford was a carpenter. He's also an Eagle Scout, if you didn't know that. Humphrey Bogart was a Navy veteran. How many were Marines? How many were, Lee Marvin, I think, landed at Iwo Jima. Captain Kangaroo was a Marine, for Christ's sakes. Rob Riggle, if you know who he was a Marine. Okay. Terry Shepard, who does the Hollywood Weapons thing on Outdoors Network, he was a Green Beret. A lot of these guys, when you see them, and you see them doing other things. Arlie Ermy, you know. I met Arlie Ermy, by the way, Pocket. A great guy. Yeah, Peter Falk. Clark Gable saw combat during World War II with the 8th Air Force. Jimmy Stewart not only saw combat with the 8th Air Force, he ended up commanding a bomber wing, and then ended up retiring from the Air National Guard as a brigadier general. The only one that didn't was John Wayne, but he respected the guys to the point where he could portray them in a manner that shows that that you would think that guy actually had been. He was friends with the Marines. He was friends with Army veterans. John Ford, his director, did propaganda movies for the military during World War II. But you don't necessarily have to be in the military to get authentic, to have that authentic, to have something that makes you real, a real man that can go on screen and say, I am here, I am the alpha. John Wayne, he played college football. He also did stuff on movie sets, like carpentry work and the rest of that stuff. So you can be a manly man and not necessarily be in the military. Okay, Harrison Ford wasn't, but Eagle Scout, carpenter, he's a pilot, et cetera, et cetera. And I gotta tell you, man, when I see him and I know he's going flying, I think I'd rather, I'm sorry, be hanging out with that guy than Tom Cruise. The reason why is this: Ford has that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know he said that. I know. And he would have gone. Ronald Reagan didn't get to go into the military that fought because of his eyesight. Back then, if you were 4F, kind of your feet, your knees, your eyesight, you got shit. People will call you out for being a coward, which is bullshit, but, they need young, strong, healthy guys to do the jobs. There you go. Anyway, but there is a lack of authentic masculinity. And Tom Cruise has never crashed anything. And that's a funny thing, but you look at Cruise and it's like, there's something kind of, I like the guy, but there's something kind of not right about him. I'll tell you one, a very funny Grtilda. Here's one. Kurt Russell's a pilot. Kurt Russell played hockey. Look at him. Tombstone, White Herb. He played the U.S. hockey coach in Miracle, that movie. Great actor, great guy. Really. Real man. Not a bullshit. Not a full of shit guy. All right. I'm like, so we were having a debate on, well, they could trying to figure out who could replace Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. And you guys, if you've been on here long enough, there's a poem about the indispensable man, that no one is indispensable. But in reality, there really are. Like when the guy who started the company retires and the new guy comes in and things start falling apart, you realize the guy that was there before was the glue with the fam was the glue. My father was indispensable. He was alive now, my life would be a lot different. Okay. Harrison Ford is irreplaceable. And the idea that they could go on with another actor is kind of like, no, people wouldn't buy it. And it's not because, well, times have changed. Times have changed. No, it's because if you get an actor who's not right for the part, people aren't going to see it. I mean, look at Alden Ehrenreich. You know, you can't replace Harrison Ford. You can't replace Carrie Fisher. And you can't, I mean, Indiana Jones will always be Harrison Ford. Always. You know, and if you want new adventures, if Indy 5 gets made, and I'm still like, if you want new adventures, they should go to animation and put them on Disney streaming, and there you go. Okay. The reason is this. Animation isn't just for kids. We know the history of animation, way back in the 20s. Those cameras, those little shorts were made to go up on movie reels with other movies that adults would see. Well, Gruntilda, there are people out there that are technically fans that don't respect the story. It's true. If you're, like today, trying to convince me that Matt McConaughey could play Indiana Jones, what the actual fuck are you drinking or smoking? I love Matt McConaughey. He was actually a kind of a dude. All right. But he's not Harrison Ford. And he's got that Texas accent. He's not the same actor. He doesn't have that. It's so hard to explain. That va-va-voom, I guess. And it's like, no, I'm sorry. No. And we saw it with Ehrenreich. Stop trying. And even with Sebastian Stan as Luke. Sure, he looks like Mark Hamill, but he's too tall. And he doesn't sound like him. Yeah, it's gravitas. None of these guys have it. But a guy who's been something before he was an actor has gravitas. Like if you look at Steve Sharippa. Steve Sharippa was in The Sopranos. He played Bobby Bacala. He did a lot of stuff before he became an actor. Very good actor, very good guy, very believable. Not the best looking guy in the world, but what I'm saying is that a guy who's done something else brings a reality to the parts he's playing that a guy that grew up being an actor doesn't have. Well, and you're right, Gruntilda. Even in Harry's hippie days, and he still is a hippie, I don't care what anyone says, he was always a step above all of them. Like, there's a video on here of, you see Jim Morrison, who's the king of all hippies, talking with a group of people, and you see this guy walking through the crowd, and he looks up at the camera, and suddenly Jim Morrison no longer exists. The guy is Harrison Ford. It's like, and you're kind of like, it hits you right here. That's the power of a soon-to-be movie star, right there in front of your face. It's just a quick, you can look up Jim Morrison and Harrison Ford on YouTube. And there's a whole video, and there's one part where they're doing this thing, and also you see a guy in a mirror, and you hear the cameraman going, "Harry, you're in my shot." "Oh, sure," said Dave, I will. Go look it up when I'm done. It's awesome. But we're talking about guys like Steve McQueen, who was a juvenile delinquent. He was a Marine. Clint Eastwood was in the Army, and he did other things before he became an actor. And he just kind of like he walked in and they chose him, and there you go. That's how he became an actor. There's a reality there. That's a man's man. That's a man a woman wants. And I'm sorry, but if I walked into a bar with Bradley Cooper, whom I like, he did an adequate job as a Chris Kyle, Matt McConaughey, Brad Pitt, Keanu Reeves. I like Keanu. Keanu at least has some of those qualities, but his life has been such a strange road that it kind of when you see him and you're it's like, yeah, I get it. Leonardo DiCaprio, Chris Hemsworth, that idiot Chris Evans, throw in Mark Ruffalo for Clown World. I'd be like, I see all these boys, I don't see any men. That's a problem. Problem. Right there. Right there. Sure, Justin Timberlake can punch. Actually, Pocket, yes, he did. He played hockey. He played semi-pro hockey. So anything that brings you out of the profession, like Leonardo DiCaprio has never been anything but an actor since he was a kid. That's it. And it shows. Sure, he's a great actor, but I don't like him. He doesn't understand how the world works. All right. Anyway, why don't I get this off my chest? Keep your eyes open for more Jon Favreau stuff about what I was talking about with Favreau wanting total control over Mandalorian and keeping Lucasfilm away from it. If something else pops today, I'll be back. Anyway, this is Steph signing out. Sci-fi for me is going to be on soon. Let's all, either go to Midnight's Edge or Jason and let's see what's going on. Talk to y'all later.